The Sacramento Kings situation just got a little bit more interesting because while the talk and the speculation has been for a while now that the Kings could look to buy Zach LaVine out at some point in the season, which I guess is still kind of on table, the Kings have now reportedly signaled that they do not plan to buy Zach LaVine out. And not only that, they're thinking about bringing back Russell Westbrook to be a mentor to Darius Acuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that, plus some of the signings that happened over the course of the weekend that we missed in episodes. We'll talk about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content today, y'all. And yeah, man, so, I had speculated on it. Some other people had speculated on it that the Sacramento Kings could buy out Zach LaVine after he opted into his contract, and they signaled to him, we don't have a role for you on this team. Well, according to a source, right, Locked On Kings James Ham said this. According to a source, the Kings have no thought on buying out Zach LaVine at this time. They also plan on him coming back and being ready to have a big year in what is a contract season for him. And according to that source, LaVine is aligned with his thinking. So again, at this point, the Kings and LaVine are tied to each other for another season in 2026-27. Here's the thing that's interesting in that, right? And this is just me reading between the leaves. This is not part of the report or anything like this. But this being said in it that they are looking at Zach LaVine to have a big season, does that mean that they're hoping that he can actually up his trade value? That there's actually a team that if Zach LaVine puts up a big statistical start to the season, that there's a team that sniffs around Zach LaVine and says, listen, we may be able to make a trade for that. I still think hoping out for that is possibility, right? And I think that's a smart play by the Kings. Even in talking about the Kings potentially buying out Zach LaVine, it wasn't like it was immediate. They're going to go and buy him out right now, right this minute. So if you allow Zach LaVine to build up his trade value and then just see if somebody's willing to trade for that large contract, then great. But if not, then you can still buy him out, around or after the trade deadline, after that passes, and then you can go on to another team. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. When Brett Siegel also added this, there will be a lot of interest in a player like Zach LaVine, whether that be through the mid-level exception, minimum contract, if he was to hit the open market. That's not something that's in play at this time. LaVine has not approached the Kings to ask for a buyout, and they're not actively engaged in those conversations. And the main reason why is he's in the final year of a $40+ million contract. And we just saw this past year, teams go out and trade for guys that were in the final year of the contract because A, it frees up a lot of cap space and flexibility entering the offseason, and B, injuries are inevitable and teams that underperform at some point heading into the trade deadline. So, this is the Kings playing it smart, right? And so, you don't have to buy him out right now to maximize on the value. And that's really what the Kings are looking at in regards to this one. So I do think that it's smart to be patient right now, right? It's smart to be patient right now. A buyout at this point in the season, it brings no value to the Sacramento Kings. But again, it actually brings more value if you get to past the trade deadline and nobody wants him. So we'll see. I think that they are delaying the inevitable. That's my personal opinion. There is a chance that the team has a contract that they look at and say, hey, listen, we can send this contract to the Kings with a pick and then we can move forward. But I think that, Zach LaVine does make rotations decisions a little bit tough, right? We know he's not part of the long-term plan. He's not going to be retained outside of the season. So the question becomes about whether it's through buyout at the trade deadline or through a trade, is Zach LaVine a Sacramento King after the trade deadline? And I'll say this. The thing is, I would still bet that he's not going to be a Sacramento King by after the trade deadline. And I do think that the Kings and LaVine, for that matter, may look to revisit a buyout when most of that contract's paid by the trade deadline anyway. So even if he does give up $5-8 million or something like that, it's not as big of a hit on him. And at that point, especially if he has had a big statistical year, he may be able to join a veteran team and a contending team to come off their bench and provide a little bit of scoring, right? He is more of an asset than any type of core piece. That's just the reality of it. He's not a piece of their core. He's not a part of their future. He's an asset right now. And so right now they're betting to see if that asset to gain some value between now and the trade deadline. And then you ultimately make your decision on what you're going to do with a buyout or not after that point. And I don't think that's bad business at all. I think that's actually pretty smart business. Is Zach LaVine, though, somebody that a contender could target no matter how he becomes available? I think yes, especially if he does become available as a buyout after the trade deadline. There will be a number of teams. At that point, teams kind of exactly know their strengths and weaknesses. They're not buying into Zach LaVine long-term necessarily, so you're bringing in a scoring punch off the bench that can help you. And the benefit of Zach LaVine, too, is that you can go out there and tell Zach LaVine, listen, we're going to run some pick and rolls for you. We're going to run some pin downs for you. We want you to come off these screens and just shoot. We got guys that can get you the ball, shoot the ball when you get it, those type of things. Elevate our team sometimes, maybe when our stars are off the court, something like that. And that's it, right? LaVine is going to be a very hard trade asset to trade because of the $49 million contract. But as a buyout, I think there are a number of teams that could be knocking on Zach LaVine's door where he can help provide some legitimate help to those teams, at that point in time. So we got to see what's going to happen, for that. Moving on from that, though, another interesting bit of news that came from Mark Stein and Jake Fisher is that the Sacramento Kings are interested in Russell Westbrook, saying this. The Kings are looking to bring in a veteran point guard to mentor Darius Acuff. Russell Westbrook and Victor Oladipo have been mentioned as possible options. Westbrook averaged 15.2 points, 6.7 assists for the Kings last season. The Kings were also one of several teams who attended Oladipo's workout in Las Vegas during Summer League. It was also reported on Monday that the Kings have no interest in Zach LaVine and buying out Zach LaVine. So, here it goes, right? So, the Kings bringing in Russ to mentor Darius Acuff. I'm of two minds in regards to this, right? Like, in some ways, Russell Westbrook could be a great mentor for Darius Acuff, right? And if that's a role that Russell Westbrook is willing to embrace right now, that makes some sense for him. We know that even on the floor, he still brings competitiveness, he still brings energy and playmaking, and he can teach Darius Acuff how to deal with the pace, the pressure, and the attacking mentality that Darius Acuff kind of already has. You're just building in somebody who cultivates and kind of matches that a little bit. Plus, it gives the Kings another guard that can organize some offense. Now, as far as Victor Oladipo, right, this is a guy that will accept a smaller role than Russell Westbrook. He does bring some defensive-minded perspective, which you may want to help, Darius Acuff bring because he got reported as being one of the worst defenders that a lot of scouts ever seen. I do think he also can help without dominating the ball theoretically. And with Sacramento attending his workout, it does show that there's at least some form of interest in what that can be. Russell Westbrook is more of a loud mentor. Oladipo is somebody who's more of a cleaner one that can come in and help mentor a player, not get in the way and things like that. And I think when you think about this, it does say that the Kings actually have some direction. If you're looking for a mentor for Darius Acuff, it says how they feel about Darius Acuff, which is obvious by where they drafted him at, but you also want to support the development of that young point guard and bring in guys that can do that. Building habits early is a key. You often, and sometimes it's these vets that you don't really think about that you go back on and teams like, no, that was my vet. That's somebody that I really did learn a lot about. So I don't mind that, right? LaVine is still on the roster though. So it's like for somebody who, could already be a mentor for Darius Acuff, it just shows that the Kings really, again, have no type of forward or future thinking when it comes to Zach LaVine at all. So let me know what you guys think on that. Oladipo or Russell Westbrook as mentors for Darius Acuff. How do you feel about that? Now, a bit of some of the news that we passed up on this weekend. Najee Marshall got a $52 million contract to stay with the Dallas Mavericks. He averaged a career-high 15 points, 4.7 rebounds, and he also posted career highs in assists, field goal percentage, and steals. The deal is fully guaranteed, and that does show that the level of belief in Najee Marshall is there and it's high. And when you look at versatile wings, they do get expensive, right? And so I think when you look at the continuity that you're trying to keep around Cooper Flagg and his development, it makes a lot of sense there. So I think this is a smart deal for him that, they're in a position where they're able to pay money like this. Is there a risk? Yeah. $52 million is real money, right? So, and yes, you're paying a player off a career year can always get a bit dangerous in that because you're going to have to prove that leap is sustainable, not something that's just going to be a flash in the pan. But you got Najee Marshall for what he can be. And I think that's a really good thing and deal to that. Shout out to Najee Marshall for getting paid. Also, Gary Payton II got a $3.9 million one-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. And, I do think that he still, he knows the system. He knows how to play off the players that are there. He still brings defense. He brings energy. And I think that he's a reliable role player that you still need around Steph and Draymond. And especially with Jimmy Butler, you don't know exactly what he's going to be or what he's going to look like early in the season. It all makes sense for him. He played 73 games last season, which does really matter, especially, again, when you're talking about some of the time that Jimmy Butler missed and what he may miss at the start of this season. He may not be fully healthy and ready to go until February, right? But I do think there's, of course, limited upside. But you're paying a 1-year deal, so the upside doesn't matter. He's now 33 years old. He doesn't solve some of the bigger issues with them, but he doesn't get in the way of what they're trying to do. I don't think this is a nostalgia play or anything like this. This is you bringing in an affordable role player who knows your system, knows your players, can play off of it, and can provide some two-way play for you. So shout out to Gary Payton II getting paid as well. And then the last bit of news that we missed on is Jeremy Sohan got a 1-year prove-it deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, can Jeremy Sohan actually rebuild his worth with the I said Pacers, with the Portland Trail Blazers? Portland can give him a role, right? I think that he's still a guy that brings some defensive versatility for sure. And a 1-year deal makes it flexible for both sides. If he does come in here and have a big season, he can renegotiate, get more money in the offseason next year. And then also the Blazers get to evaluate him without having long-term pressure or long-term money wrapped up inside of it. They need some size. They need some stuff like that. And while Jeremy Sohan is not a player that averaged a lot because he just didn't, and is that like there's the value in the way that Jeremy Sohan has been viewed has steadily gone down each of the seasons. That's why I have, the saying that I say is that, if you're on a team or no matter your potential, that ceiling comes down a little bit every single year. It just naturally comes down every single year because you're no longer looked at as so much as what you could be, but you're looked at as what you actually are. And that's the place that Jeremy Sohan, finds himself at right now. So, from a guy that, Pop was playing at point guard at one point in time, his first 3 years in the league, averaging double figures, to now just being a role player. And so, this is still a young guy. He's 23 years old, which may be hard to realize. He's 23 years old, and he just turned 23 in May. So he won't be 24 until the end of the season. And this is a guy that's already been in the league since 2022. So, teams can convince themselves that there's still some upside and potential in Jeremy Sohan, and there very well might be. So we'll see. And that's, by the way, NBA champion Jeremy Sohan with that, because he is going to get a ring, even though he only played 16 games with that with that Knicks team. So there you have it in that one. But that's the update for today, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section about all the topics on today's episode. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at the Full Court YT. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball and NBA related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.